everybody. Happy Sunday evening. It's 6 o'clock. It still feels like it's 5 o'clock to my body. So I'm still struggling with this time change. I wish they'd leave it alone. So we'll see what happens. I'm doing a little better this week, but I always feel like I'm getting up an hour too early in the morning and going to bed an hour early at night. So it's just I'm getting better at it, but it takes me about 3 or 4 weeks to get used to it. And then by the time I really get used to it, then they go back to the other time. So, it's whatever they do. So, okay. So I'm noticing that a lot of people, I can't see your names on StreamYard. So remember, there's a little link in this video. So after you see the video, there's a little link that you can click and it'll say if it's okay with you, then I can see your names through StreamYard. I have them over here, so that's okay. But if you would do that and click that link, that would help me. Then I can see more of your names on StreamYard's comments. Otherwise, it just says Facebook user. So when I do the Facebook Lives on the Shields Lives on the business page, everybody's name shows up because the individual groups are different than the Facebook pages, like the business pages. So anyway, yeah, I know this whole time change thing. I just wish they'd pick one and leave it be, because it's the older I get, the worse it is for me. So this week has been a little bit, I'm just so tired. It's like, I feel like I'm not getting any sleep and I feel like I lost an hour of my life, so, but we'll get used to it. It gets better as the spring goes on, but that first couple of weeks is rough for me. So, okay. So this week we are going to, I know, isn't it a beautiful day? It's not very warm. Hello. Oh, it's Margaret. Hi, Margaret. Hope you're feeling better. Hi, Marcia. Who else is here? All kinds of people. Renee, Lynn. So we have a lot of new people that have joined the group in the last month or so. So welcome everybody to a live if you haven't seen a live before. And I do this every Sunday night at 6 o'clock here on So Along with Jan. So some people watch on YouTube. Oh, cool. Clara got her pillow. Awesome, Clara. I'm so glad you got it. I'm glad you like it. So let's just talk about that first. So Clara was the winner of the drawing last week. And so every week on So Along with Jan, in order to be signed up for the drawing, you have to make a comment. Okay. Oh yeah, I know yesterday was terribly windy. And so this week, I wanted it to be a scan and cut project. So this week it's going to be a So Along with Jan water bottle. Okay, so I did this with vinyl. That's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to talk about cutting vinyl. And I cut this with my scan and cut and made this little water bottle. So this is going to be the prize at the end. Okay, and I will mail this to you. Probably have to go in a little box this time because it's a little metal water bottle. Okay, so this is going to be, so remember how you get in the drawing is make sure you make a comment. Okay, so let me turn this down a little bit. My phone makes lots of noise over here. Okay. All right, so this is going to be the drawing at the end. In the meantime, we're going to talk about cutting adhesive vinyl on the scan and cut. And I have cut a lot of vinyl on the scan and cut. I love to cut adhesive vinyl. This is the vinyl that sticks on, not irons on, okay? But I have to say, we're going to talk about how I'm going to cut it here in a little bit. And I have struggled with the SDX model machines and the cutting the vinyl. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to turn the banner off so it's not in the way. The newer machines have an auto blade. So as we know, which is wonderful, except when I cut vinyls. I just really struggle with it. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. I'm going to show you how I cut vinyl. I still go back and cut it the old-fashioned way because I get much better results, and you can see how tiny these letters are. Can you see how thin and tiny those letters are? And I would never be able to cut that out with the auto blade. There's no way I'd ever be able to get that cut out. This was cut out with the standard blade. Okay. So we're going to talk about that. And there are some things that I get cut out with the standard, with the auto blades, but not everything. And so we're just going to talk about that as we're moving along here. So what we're going to make, though, is a toolbox. Okay, so the toolbox, this is a little box I got at the dollar store, at Dollar Tree. And we're going to do some scanning, and we're going to make the logo Scan and Cut over here. Do you use vinyl? Do I use the vinyl blade? So yes and no. So I will talk to you about that when we get to cutting. Okay, we're going to try cutting it 2 different ways and see what happens. I usually use, she was asking about this, but this is a vinyl auto blade. It's kind of light blue on the top. Okay, this is a 45-degree blade, which is much better for detail. Okay, but I still have the same issue because it's an auto blade still. Okay, so we're going to talk about that as we get to cutting here. I don't cut vinyl anymore with the black blade. This is a 60-degree blade, and the 60-degree blade works great for everything except vinyl because it's too steep. The angle's too steep. So normally we would cut vinyl with a 45-degree blade, which is what this vinyl blade is. So thank God they came out with this. However, I'm still struggling with the auto half cut. So we're going to talk about that as we go along here. Okay. So we're going to make this toolbox. We're going to scan the Scan and Cut logo. Now I put the logo and the FCM file for this up on. Now remember, you need to get to the Dropbox for Sew Along with Jan or for the software. So there's 2 Dropboxes now, and it's in the first post on Sew Along with Jan. And if you go to the very first post, it's called Featured. Click on there, and both Dropbox links are there. And this is under Scan and Cut Toolbox. Okay, and what you're going to get is the picture for this so you can scan it into your machine. And then there's an FCM file that's a cut file too, if you want to cut it and not have to scan it. Okay, so that is on Sew Along with Jan under Featured, the very first post on the group, and then it's under the sewing embroidery classes, and then there's also one for the software. So there's 2 links now. And for those of you who are watching on YouTube, it will be in the description below the video. So when I get done with this video, I'll put it in the description of the video. So you can just look under the video, there's a description, and then click the link, and it'll take you to this graphic that we're going to use tonight. Okay. All right. So we're going to do a little scanning. We're going to use the letters in the machine. And then we're going to put, like this side I put Scan and Cut, this side I put Tools. Okay. My original box was a little different. This one has the little hooks, the little latches on both ends. And my original box that I used to always use was on the side. So I can't get these boxes anymore. I got these at the dollar store too. So then I put Scan and Cut Tools on the top, and then I would put Jan or like my name on the side. And this one I can't get anymore. So this is my original box that I use all the time. You can see it's full of stuff. And this is my little toolbox that I use all the time. But the other ones work just fine. I just can't get these anymore. So, okay. So I'm going to turn the camera around here, and let's start talking about cutting vinyl. So I have done a couple of samples here. So here's some colored vinyl that I cut the Scan and Cut logo out of. Okay, just so you can see kind of what it looks a little bit better than the white. The white's a little hard to see. But we're going to use white since my box is colorful. But if you've got a clear box, use some colored vinyls, okay? And that way you can have a little more color to your box. So my box is red, so I just used white vinyl on this, okay? And then I did some other ones in some different colors so you could see them better. And that's fine. If it's a little bigger, that's fine. You might be able to make the measurements I give you for like your Scan and Cut and your name and stuff. You might be able to make them a little bit bigger if your box is a little bigger, and that's fine. Okay. And you'll be able to put more stuff in it. This is a nice size because it fits inside the Scan and Cut case with my Scan and Cut. And so there's plenty of room for it. But if it's a little bigger, I'm sure it'll fit too. Okay. All right. So let me get this moved over. And whoops, second here. I got to find the right. And don't forget, you got to comment to get your chance to win the prize at the end. So let me get the. Okay, so hopefully everybody can hear me. And I'm going to look this way a little bit. So, okay. Yes, more stuff is always good, Maureen. I have a lot of stuff in my box, so it is very full. I don't know if you could see it. Let me bring it over here. If you look at if I bring you can see my little toolbox there. It's pretty full. I got it pretty much full of stuff. All the different, universal pen holders and the tools and scissors and all that jazz. So that's what I carry with me when I need to take my scan and cut, because then I got everything I need. So, okay. All right. So let's talk about scanning first. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to scan the logo. And this is the logo I gave you on the Dropbox. Okay. And you can just print it out on a piece of paper. I need several hundred more. And see, you can do this with other stuff. I just have so many things. And this is the one I carry with me with like all the little tools that I'm always needing. So I carry this box around with me a lot. So, okay. So this is the logo that I just printed on a piece of paper. It's a JPEG, and you can just print it out on a piece of paper. Okay. And this is I just typed it on, or I just printed it on printer paper. Okay. And then I have this in my scanning mat. Now, some of you may not have a scanning mat, and that's fine. You can just stick it on a mat to scan it. But I've got my scanning mat, and I like to use it. It's the one that doesn't have any stickum on it, and it's got this little flapper on it. Okay. So this is it. And you do need to make sure you have the correct one, because this is the scanning mat for the SDX models. And then there is one for the CM models too. So for those of you who have the older machines, you can certainly do what I'm going to do tonight. Okay. So I'll explain the blade settings and all that stuff too. But you can scan and do this. I've done this since the very first scan and cut, the 550. So we've been doing this a long time. All right. So here's my scan and cut picture. And I'm going to go ahead. Give me a second here. I'm going to bring this down, and I'm going to load this in. You know what? I love my scan and cut. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to load this in. And when I load my mats, we're remembering that we bump them up against the rollers. I'm going to spread my hand out in front, okay? And I'm going to hit the button here that loads the mat. So hold your hand there and let it load, okay? Don't try to hang on to your mat. I'm going to pull this back. Don't grab the mat back here and try to shove it in. It's not going to work. You're going to have trouble. Okay, so just be careful when you're loading. I always put my hand, I bump it against the rollers. I put my hand, spread it out right in front of the roller here, and then load it. And then I don't have any problems with my mat getting crinkly or going crooked or anything. Okay, so that I've been doing that since, well, I started out with a Silhouette Cameo, and it was very hard to load mats in that. It was always crooked. So I started doing that, and I found that it worked very well, and it works great for these as well. Okay. Okay. So we're going to scan. I love scanning with the machine. So this machine is pretty much standalone. You don't need to use software. I've done this in software, but we're going to do it with just the machine. You can use this machine almost completely standalone without, software. And it comes with free software, and we've used it some in some of the classes, but it's great to be able to use it alone. All right, so we're going to hit to do the scanning. Let me grab my little stick here so my hand doesn't get in the way. We're going to hit the scan button here. And there's several ways to scan. We've talked about this before. So the first way is a direct cut. Now that means I'm going to cut it out of this piece of paper that's on my mat. Well, that's not what I want to do. I want to make data and cut it out of something else, because we're going to cut it out of vinyl, okay? Adhesive vinyl. So then there's scan to cut data, and that's what we're going to be using, okay? You can also use the scanner. It's a nice big scanner. You can use it just to scan to a USB, and then it makes a JPEG image so that you can have a very large scanner, because most people's scanners on their computer printers are not this large. So that works really great. You can use that scan to USB. You can also transfer it to Canvas Workspace. So sometimes I'll hit this button and I can scan it in and send it to my software. And then it will, I can do some work with it in my software. Sometimes it's easier on a bigger screen to see what I'm doing. Okay. So we're not going to use that tonight. We are going to use scan to cut data because we're going to cut this. We're going to make data to cut this out of something else. So we're going to hit that button. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to decide, are we going to do this in black and white or color? Now this happens to print out in blue and white, but it's only two colors. So to me, it's basically black and white. So I'm going to pick black and white. It is not going to be layered. Sometimes I use this color mode if I'm going to be doing like an item that is like at the store, I'm always doing this little penguin, and he has little eyeballs and a nose, a little beak, and then he has a black, black wings, and then his middle part of his body's white. So then I would use this color mode because it layers it. It does each layer independently of each other. But in this case, we're just got two colors. So I'm going to use black and white. Okay. I've got my scanning area of 12 by 12 chosen, which is what I'm doing. And then I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to hit start. And then I'm going to hit start one more time to do the scan. And it's going to scan my image here. I'm just going to back this up so you can see a little bit. I've got it in my scanning mat. And it's going to scan, and it's going to bring it up on the screen for us. That's the one thing I love about the scan and cut over the other cutting machines. None of the other cutting machines can be completely standalone. They have to be used with software of some sort. And if you're not a big software fan, you can basically do everything with this machine without software. And I just love that. So it took me a while originally to use because I liked the software, and I still like software. But the first scan and cut, it took me a little while to get going on it. But once I got going on it, it is awesome. Okay. So what we're going to do, here's our scan. Okay. And I'm still getting a brown line through everything. So hopefully it won't, we'll see what happens. I had a problem with my scan and cut earlier, and I've got a piece of paper to take care of that brown line. So I'm going to have to get rid of it again. Hopefully it won't cause any problems, but we'll see. I've been having some problems. I've been having some problems with my screen, and it's a little weird thing that you can go in and fix it, but and you wouldn't think you could, but you can. So I've got a piece of paper to do it. And here's my little line again. All right. So we're going to choose which kind of scanning we're going to do. So if you're doing like appliques, you would probably just want the outside lines. So, but in this case, see, there's stuff inside and outside with all of this business. So we want to use this second button. So I'm going to choose that, and it's going to scan inside and outside of the design. Okay. So like it's going to get all the insides of the A and the N in there and, all that. So that's what we need. All right. Now, the next thing I need to do is I'm going to crop this. You can see there's a little bit of gunk down here. We don't need any of that in our design either. So I'm going to crop this up so that it's closer to the design. Oh, and it looks like maybe my line didn't get in there. So hopefully that's good. All right. So we're going to crop it up there like that. Okay. If you need to do a little bit of tweaking with the quality of your scan, this will allow you to tweak it lighter or darker. Okay. In this case, it did a pretty good job. So I'm okay with where I'm at. Normally the default's pretty close. Okay. You can also, sometimes I'll have like some gunk on my design I'm doing. This was a new one I just printed out. And I can use this ignore object size. If I click on this, it will allow me to change the sizes. And sometimes I can get rid of those little itty bitty details that don't need to be there out of that design. So I don't usually need to use that with this particular graphic because it's good enough. So we don't need to use that tonight. And then this one actually allows you to smooth your lines so that they're more curvy. And there's times when I need that. And I especially use this when I'm doing my stamps. So I'm learning to stamp and make cards, and I stamp my rubber stamps on a piece of paper, and then I can cut them out with my Scan and Cut. And I often need to smooth them more so that the outlines are more beautiful and less rigid, or less kind of squared off. So I use that there. So that's what that setting is for. Okay, so we don't need to use that tonight. So I'm going to click OK, and let's see what happens here. So it's going to ask me to save it. So it just did it. It just scanned it. It just traced it. That's all you got to do. Wasn't that easy? Okay. I'm going to save it. If you have a stick in your machine, hit the stick. If you want to save it directly back to your computer, you can do that. I'm just going to save it right in my machine. So I'm just going to click the little machine, and I'm going to save it in there. And it's thinking. Okay, and it tells you what number it is. It's number 49 on mine. So I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to unload my mat. So I'm going to hit this button, unload my mat, maybe. Okay. And I'm going to hit the little house and OK. Okay. And so I'm ready to do my design. Okay, so we're all ready for cutting. Now, I am going to cut this out of adhesive vinyl. So let's talk a little bit about the vinyl itself. I use one of two brands of vinyl. And let me pull this down a bit so you can see it. I use either, this is Oracle. It's ORACAL 651. This is wonderful vinyl. It is very good quality, and it's permanent. Okay. This is a permanent vinyl. So you would not get this off your wall if you put it up on your wall. I use it on the windows. I use it on my cup. This is Oracle. And this case, it could have been the other brand I use also. So there's two brands I use. I think all of this white is Oracle. That's my favorite white, is Oracle. So the other brand I use is FDC. And that is really good vinyl. I get it from a place called specialty-graphics.com online. And you can just buy sheets, which is great because then you can buy all kinds of colors and they're very inexpensive. They're also starting to carry Oracle, just so you know. The FDC white vinyl is a little harder to weed than the Oracle. I like Oracle better. The FDC white vinyl comes on a blue sheet. And as you can see, when I pull this back a little bit, this is white. I don't know if I can get it to start. I just cut my fingernails last night. Can't get anything to start. But this is white underneath instead of blue. Okay, so either one is very good. I have both. I use them interchangeably. I have no problems with either one. Okay, so those are the two I would recommend. And this is... the Dollar Tree stuff is probably okay, but I don't know if it's permanent. You can try it. And if you want to play around, that's an inexpensive way to get vinyl. But I cannot say because I've never tried it. They do have some really pretty colors, though. So if you were just doing some stuff for playing around and not, that's going to be... So is it pressure sensitive? Not really. It is a permanent vinyl. So that means that... Wendy, Oracle also makes a not permanent vinyl, and oh boy, I don't know if I can remember the number on it or not. There's another number that's not permanent. So 651, I can't remember what it is. 651 is the permanent, but Oracle also has a non-permanent, and so does FDC. So if you read the description, it'll say that. 631. Thank you, Barb. Yeah, 631 for the Oracle. And then FDC also has a non-permanent version. It's still pretty permanent. If you're putting stuff on the wall, still kind of permanent. So, I mean, it's not going to come off real easy. Okay. All right. So we have our Oracle vinyl. And the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to bring my mat in here. And I just cleaned my mat, so hopefully everything will stick okay. I got to get my favorite tool. here. My favorite tool is my Brother Brayer. And I'm going to take my tacky piece off of my vinyl here, or my mat, and I'm going to take, now we're going to do the scan and cut. So I cut these pieces 2 inches by 7 inches for my scan and cut logo. Okay, for this particular box. So I'm doing the measurements for my box. You may need to measure a little bit if you have a different box, okay? So I'm just going to put this on, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it up in the upper left-hand corner just because it's white and sometimes it's a little hard to see when you scan, okay? So I'm just going to put it up there. I'm going to take my little brayer, and I'm just going to go over it a couple times to make sure it sticks well, okay? And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to bump my mat in. I'm going to lay my hand in front, and I'm going to reach up here, and I'm going to load my mat. Okay, so we got our vinyl in there. You put the vinyl side up. The paper is on the mat. So this vinyl has 2 sides. This is the paper side that says 651 on it. And the other side is the vinyl, the shiny side. Okay. And some of the more positionable vinyl is matte. You can also buy permanent that's matte, but this is the shiny kind. And most of the permanent is kind of shiny. So, but it depends on the brands. Okay. All right. So it's on here. We got it on here. Now, what we need to do is find our design. So let's go ahead and find our design. Find my stick. Now, when I save it in my machine or on a stick or whatever, I am going to hit the retrieve data. And it gives me options of retrieving my data. You know, this is, you know, if we've done this before, I retrieved it if I send it wirelessly. I can retrieve it from my computer here with a cord. Like if you have a cord hooked up from your computer to your scan and cut, you can retrieve it off of your stick. But in my case, it's in my machine. So I'm just going to hit the little machine. And it's going to be at the end of because it's like number 49, wasn't it? So if you hit this little double arrow here, it'll take you all the way to the last page. So I'm sure it's there. So here it is right here. Here's our scan and cut. All right. So we're going to choose that and bring it up on our screen. Now I need it to be a certain size, and I'm going to make sure that I get my size here. I have it written on a piece of paper, but I got to find it. Let's see. Okay, there we go. I found it. Okay, so when we're going to click OK so we can open this up. What do I use to clean my mat? So I've got a mat cleaning video, Barb, that would be much more detailed. When I cleaned my mat today, I used a baby wipe because it's a fairly new mat, and it just cleaned it up, and now it's nice and tacky again. If you need to restick your mat, I also have gone through that. So if you go to YouTube, Sew Along with Jan, playlist, Brother Scan and Cut, there's a mat cleaning and blade cleaning video in there so that you can really see it in detail. Okay. Because I do restick my mats too. Because I mean, I haven't bought mats. This is the first new mat I've had in a very long time. So, all right. So we've got this up here. We need to do a little editing though. So sometimes when these come in, and if I touch this, I got to be careful when I touch it. See how these are all like individual little pieces here? All right. Well, you know, if I start moving this around on my screen, the first thing I'm going to do, you can see the little red blanks, I'm going to have the whole thing like in pieces all over the place. So, and I also want to see if there's anything weird going on. So I think it looks pretty good. So far, I don't see, usually you can tell sometimes what happens when you scan a graphic, it might scan it double. And you can usually tell if the black lines on your screen are a little blacker than some, you know, some will be darker than the others. And if it looks really dark, it's probably scanned twice. Now mine looks pretty good. I don't see any really dark lines. Let's look at it a little bit bigger here. There's 200%. And I don't see any weird dark lines anywhere. So I think it's going to be fine the way it is. Okay. So the first thing I got to do so that I have this whole thing in one piece, because as you can see, it's all in these little pieces here. Okay. I'm going to hit the 3 little squares. I am going to select all, which is the second icon right here. I'm going to select all of them and look at all the little boxes. Okay. And I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to go to Object Edit. And then this button right here is Group. So we're going to group it together. So it's all in one piece. And now I have one red line around the whole thing. So that's really important when you're scanning stuff, because it will scan it individually. And it's sometimes very hard to work with it if you need to change sizes and stuff, because it's in multiple pieces. Okay. So I would highly recommend grouping. In the older machines, they call it Unify, but it's group. All right. So I've got it grouped, and it's all in one piece. It looks pretty good, actually. Everything looks very, very neat, and I think it's going to cut well. So the next thing I want to do is I need to make this just a little smaller for my particular box. And I made it, so we're going to resize it. The first button is the resizing button. And this is still an edit, Object Edit. Okay. This is where you would add, like if I wanted to cut 2 or 3 of these, or if you wanted to rotate. Okay. But I'm going to make it a different size. So let's take a look at it here. And I want it to be, the width right now is 10 inches. Well, that's a little too big for my little box. So I'm going to leave this right now, will come down in what they call aspect ratio. If with both sides, both height and width coming down together. If I wanted to come down independently, and I think the last scan and cut class we did this, you would hit this little button, and then these 2 numbers would be independent of one another. But we wanted to come down together. So I'm going to do the width. I'm just going to click negative, and I'm going to hold it down until I get to 6 inches. And the height is coming along with it. So it makes it easy. So we're getting pretty close. Whoops, overshot it a little bit. There we go. So it's 6 inches wide. The height then is about 1.35, and it came down in aspect ratio. Okay. And if you want it to be skewed in some way, you can do that. And by using this button and bringing them down independently of one another. All right. So I think we're about getting ready to cut here. So I'm going to click OK. We've got it grouped. Going to click OK again. And we know that I put that piece of vinyl up in the top left-hand corner. So I am going to go ahead and just pull this up to the top left-hand corner of my mat, because I know that's where my vinyl is, and we're going to be good with that. Okay. And I'm going to click one more time. Okay. One more time. Now, if I needed to scan to know where my vinyl was, then I would have hit this scan button right here, but we know where it's at. It's up here in the left corner, and we know it's okay. And I'm going to click OK one more time. All right. So now we're going to talk about blades. So we're going to do a test. This machine has an auto blade function. And when you cut vinyl, you do not want to cut through the paper that is holding the vinyl. All right. So what I want to do, and you can see here, I have not cut through this paper, but I have cut through the vinyl. And I have called what they say weeding. I had weeded it. Okay. So I did not cut through the paper. The paper is not cut through. You don't want to cut through the paper. So, but you do want to cut through the vinyl. So if we were to cut this out with our auto blade, and this is the vinyl auto blade, this is the light blue blade, we would then go in. I'm going to tell it to cut right here. We would go into the little tool wrench, and we will tell it to cut, because we only want it to cut through the vinyl, not the paper. So in this case, we will turn on the half cut. Okay. I'm going to leave the cut pressure at auto so that it sets the blade for me. So it's supposed to cut through the vinyl and not the paper. This is where my problem lies. Okay. So we're going to try this. I have tried using this half cut pressure on all kinds of different pressures, less, more, all kinds of stuff. And I've always gotten the same results. And they're usually with the auto blade, with this vinyl auto blade. Okay. Sometimes it cuts, sometimes it doesn't. And this has been quite worrisome to me because I don't cut vinyl as often. So I'll show you later what I did to take care of that problem. But let's just give it a whirl here and see what happens, because I want to show you what could happen to you if you use the vinyl auto blade, or even the regular auto blade would give you about the same situation. On auto, I've got the half cut on. When you use an auto blade, for this, we have to have the half cut on. So I'm going to click OK. Got it on auto. I think everything looks good. I'm going to click OK. Okay, now I'm going to put this blade into my machine. This is the vinyl auto blade, which is that 45-degree blade. If you only have the black one, use the black one. Okay. This is kind of a detailed piece, so it should work better with the 45-degree blade, which is what this is, instead of the 60-degree blade, which is what this is. So that's what we're going to use. We're going to give it a whirl here and see what happens. Okay, so we're going to cut this out twice because I wanted to see what would happen. So I'm going to put my vinyl auto blade in here. I'm going to click that down. I've got it set so that it will be on auto. It says that the speed is 3. I like to turn my speed down on these machines. They're kind of fast for me. And then the half cut is on. All right, so I'm going to do a test. So let's hit the test button. And I'm going to tell it to put in a little box. And let's see here. Probably it will cut there pretty well. So let's just pull it over here, fairly close to the S. And let's see what happens here. All right. Okay. Okay, so Jan, I have used both. And I've had the same problem with both. So I just happen to have the blue blade. So we're going to try that. Okay. And I might try it with the black one and see if it works better with that one. So let's see what happens. So I'm going to put this little teeny box here. And what's going to happen is it's going to cut that one out. And then it's going to stop and let me check it to see how it did. All right. And I'm going to click start. So let's see what happens. So what it's going to do, it's going to set the blade to the half cut. And then it's going to cut that little box, and then it's going to stop. So the little box is in the corner. You probably can't see it very well. Let me get my glasses on here. And I can take my little weeding tool, which is like this little, looks like a dental pick. Okay. And I can see if this little box comes out. Well, guess what? It doesn't. Okay. It does not come out. Okay, so this is what I have. And yes, it can depend on the brand of your vinyl, but this is incredible and very good vinyl. This is not cheap vinyl. This is like a professional vinyl. So in this case, that little square did not cut out. I am going to go ahead and finish cutting this, and I want to show you. Let's just go ahead and let it go with my auto blade. We may try it with the black one too. I've got several pieces of vinyl here, so we may try it with the black blade too. See the difference. But I want to show you what I've been frustrated about this particular auto blade function. So the old machines had different blades. Oh, I love this one. I got this one from Specialty Graphics. I love it. It's very sharp. It's got a very, very sharp point on it. So you got to be careful not to poke yourself. I've bled several times with it. So the old machines had the old style blades that you had to, it probably is a dental pick, that you had to set yourself. Okay. So these have numbers on them. You can see the numbers on here. And this is an old standard blade that all the older machines used. I love this blade. I still use this to cut vinyl. So this is how I cut vinyl. And we're going to cut it with this next. But I want to show you how I have trouble with this auto blade function. I've tried going up from auto blade to going up for more pressure. And I've tried going down, and it's never made a difference to me. Nothing seems to work. And when I go to weed my vinyl, then I have this problem. So it does not cut through the vinyl, and you can see where the cut is. I don't know if you can see it. If I tip it, and you might be able to see the lines. You can see the lines, but when I go to weed it, you should be able to go like this and have it weed perfectly. Okay, so let's see. So this one is stuck right here. See, it's not weeding, it's tearing, and the rest of it's not weeding at all. All right, so see, the rest of it's not weeding at all. All right, so that's with the vinyl auto blade. If I go ahead, and this was also with the vinyl auto blade. So this is the first one I tried. Oh, this one does have the blue background. That's why I like Oracle. It has a blue background, so you can see what you're doing. So I like that. So this one again does not weed. Okay, so you can see the lines on it, but it didn't cut because we wanted to just cut through the vinyl. So I'm going to take Jan's hint. She said she's used the black one. So let's try the black one and see if that one works any better. So we're going to put another piece of vinyl up here. And I have no idea. I haven't tried this for a long time. I never use the black blade anymore because it doesn't do detail very well. So we're going to take this one out. And let's just try the black one. See if it works. I haven't tried one of these for a while. So we'll try this one. Make sure it's not dirty. I was cutting my chipboard last time, so all right, let's try this one. See what this one does. We're going to do the same thing. Okay. You might be able to cut it again. I don't know if it's going to, but the thing is, if you cut it a second time, it may not cut exactly on the same line, so you may not have any better luck. Okay. All right. So we're going to try this again. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to hit cut. I'm going to leave it on auto. Okay. And I'm going to leave it on half cut on. And I put the black blade in. So let's hit start. Hopefully I have enough vinyl to get us a piece here so we can finish our box. You can recut it if you leave it in, but I shouldn't have to. And you've been using the black one with no problem. Okay, so let's take a look. You know, and this blade here was like a $99 blade with designs. Okay, so this is supposed to be cutting my vinyl better. But I've never really had very good luck with either one. But I haven't tried the black one for a while, so let's take a look and see what happens. This is a very good vinyl. So it's a cutting down here. Good. I'm glad to hear that you're using the black one. Now, the problem is, if you go to use the black blade with an incredibly detailed design, it will not cut it. It's just too steep. Okay. Now, this is not an incredibly detailed design. So it may cut it. So let's take a look. Okay. So it didn't cut through the paper. And let's see what happens. So let's hold this down so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, we're just going to give it a try. Scissor is actually a heat transfer vinyl. So this is a different kind of vinyl, Donna. Scissor is very good vinyl, and that is what I use for heat transfer vinyl. So let's see what happens. Okay, so this is the black blade on auto, and guess what? It does not weed. Okay, so it didn't weed either. I was expecting that. All right, so so far, we haven't had very much luck, have we? So I kind of got frustrated because I cut a lot of vinyl. Okay. And so what I have done, and I didn't know when we first got these SDX model machines in, some years ago, they've been out for a little while now, maybe 3-4 years now. They told us that none of the mats and none of the blades worked in these new machines. Well, that's not entirely true. The mats have to have an SDX mat. So be careful when you're ordering new mats that you have the correct mat. But guess what? The old blades that was in my CM 550 and 650, this is a standard blade. This is the old standard blade. I used to use it for fabric, and I kept it when I sold my other machine. So I had a standard blade yet because I found out they do work in these machines. So when you take this blade, okay, this blade is very much like the other one. You want to put your cap on. These are going to be a little different because you got to set it yourself. So I'm just going to bring this all the way down as tight as it goes. You can see there's a little bit of the blade sticking out. Okay. And yes, and your old CM350 is the same. So then what I need to do is I'm going to go all the way back to 0. So here's 1. So 0 to me is the line, you know, the line where the label goes together. And then I'm going to put this on. So when you have a brand new blade like this, depending on your machine, it'll probably need to be set at 1.5 to 2. This is a little older blade, so I'm going to set this on the number 2. So I'm going to put this on number 2, like that. All right, so this is where I've always cut vinyl. So I'm going to put this on number 2, and I'm going to put this blade in the machine now. Okay, we're going to put that last piece of vinyl, so hopefully this one cuts okay. Otherwise, I'll be grabbing some more vinyl. All right, we're going to lay this up in here. Get my little brayer. So yeah, the 350 would have had the same blades. And your 550 also has these blades. So like I said, and then I also have, let's see, I'm not sure where I have it. They make another blade, and there's times when I put this blade in. This is the old original blade. That is the deep cut blade. And this is a 60-degree blade, and I use this too. Okay. And you don't have to cut though with your CM350. I thought, oh, maybe I need to keep my 650 to cut, but you know what? This machine cuts perfectly with this blade, just like the other ones did. And it's much faster. There's a lot more abilities. All right, so we're going to go in here. Let's go ahead and change this. Yes, this is the blade that came in the design and cut too. Those would have been, and those are software driven. Okay, so we're going to go in here and we're going to hit cut again. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to change my settings. So I'm going to go in here and make sure that half cut is turned off because we don't want that anymore. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to leave it, and oops, second here. I want to check my cut speed is at 3, which is good. The manual cut pressure is important here. All right, it needs to be on 0. And that's where it is. So we're going to leave that manual cut pressure at 0. And the blade I set to the number 2. Okay. Now, if you have a brand new blade, it might need to be at 1.5. So you can do a test cut. So we're going to do a test cut. And I've got it set where I want. And we're going to do a test cut. And I'm going to put my little design in there. Okay. We'll put that little square up in there again. All right. And let's see what happens. So this time we've turned off that half cut. Okay. And it's going to do the test and it's going to stop. Just set my blade. All right. So here's my little square down here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well, but let me see if I can get it out. So I'm going to take my little pick here and I'm going to see if this comes out. Look, look at there. Okay. There's my little square. I'm also going to pick up very carefully this corner to make sure that it didn't cut through the paper, which it did not. Okay. And look, there's my little square. Has a perfect little square here. All right. So let's go ahead and just let it continue. Make sure it's down again. I'm just going to hit start again up here. We're going to let it continue just to cut. Now, all of these here have been cut out with this blade. And if you don't own this blade, if you want to cut a lot of vinyl, and if you want to avoid being frustrated and having marginal results here and there, and I'm telling you, this was with both of my machines. I've had 2 machines. I love the auto blade. I use it for everything except vinyl. And I can't cut heat transfer vinyl either. So I just went back to this blade. There's no reason not to. If you just want to cut it and have it done, just get the blade and cut it. mean, it's not an expensive blade. They last a long time, and it does a beautiful job. Okay, so we're going to take this off the mat. Let me unload this. And when I unload a mat, I unloaded it. Okay. Well, you know, Cindy, is that Cindy that said that? I know. I agree, Cindy. But there's two things that I don't cut with the auto blade: adhesive vinyl and heat transfer vinyl. The rest, those I cut with this old blade. And you know what? That's okay with me because it does a good job. What, maybe try the old blade because it always worked before perfectly, Donna. Because I've cut a lot of vinyl. I mean, I did all the windows at the store. I did the sign at the road. I do tons of vinyl. And I've never had any problems cutting vinyl until I got this auto blade. And I was so frustrated. And it's cool, and it works perfectly for everything else. And I just don't know if it has to be something to do with the half cut feature. I've tried all kinds of settings. I've worked and worked. I thought I had it set up. I thought it was good, but then it would not work. So when I unload these mats, you don't want to disturb any of this vinyl here. Okay. You want to if you turn your mat over and just pull the corner and hold your vinyl down, you won't disturb your vinyl pieces because, you know, they're loose then and you don't want them to be disturbed. So that way, that's how I do my mats, especially with the vinyls. Okay. Okay. Yeah, Stahl's is very good vinyl, and that's probably heat transfer vinyl. So there's two different kinds of vinyl. This is adhesive vinyl, not heat transfer. Can I take my machine to the dealer and see why? I am the dealer. Cindy, I am the dealer. So I'm the one that has to figure it out, and I've never figured out any other option other than to cut it with my old blade. That's my best option. It sometimes cuts. Sometimes it will cut, but I can't always guarantee that it's going to cut. All right. And I just do it this way, and it does a great job. Okay. So now we're going to do a little weeding. Okay. So I'm going to switch my camera over a little bit because it's not quite close enough for the weeding. So let me put it over here. I think it'll be better. So bear with me for a second. And I also have this problem when I cut heat transfer vinyl. I do a lot of heat transfer vinyl because I make my own shirts to wear to work. Okay, so now if you see this little gadget, I love this. So here's my favorite little gadget for weeding. It's one of those little light boxes, those little flat light boxes, and I've got a mat on top of it just so I won't scratch it up. And this one is a Nifty Notions. This is the small one. I love this one. So no, it's fine, Cindy, but I am the dealer. So people come to me and ask, but I have had my machine cuts perfectly. I just have never always had trouble with the vinyl, and I'm not the only one that has this problem. So and I don't know what to do about it other than to cut it with this blade, and it works great. I mean, it's just once you get used to the blade setting, it's just easy. Okay. So now we're going to do a little weeding. So I've got this on my little light table. It really helps me to have a light table because then I can see the lines better where it cut. Okay. And when I weed, let me get this out of my way here. Got a little bit of a curve in here. When I weed, I like to kind of weed from corner to corner. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the corner up with my little pick tool here. And then what I do, whoops, get a hold of it here. And I'm going to kind of turn this corner. And remember, this is sticky. I'm going to turn the corner over and I'm going to slowly pull back. And there's a little spot inside the S that's I have to give it a little help. And I'm going to slowly pull back. And again, in the C, there's like a little inside part. I love this little light table. And this is on the website, the Shield Sewing Center website. It is the small one. This is like the 8x11 one. And I really love it because this one fits, on my table and everything. All right. So I'm going to keep going and see how, and you notice that I'm pulling. This is the sticky part. Don't get it stuck on your stuff over here or you'll have a problem. So then I'm just slowly pulling. Okay, so I've got a little spot right here that needs to, I can't, just a second, I got to put my glasses on. I can't see that. Can't see what I'm stuck on here. So there's a little spot that goes up a little bit that I just needed to help along. Okay. And see how easy that's weeding? See how easy that is? It just comes right off. Okay, so this C, it's going to need a little help just to get it started. Okay. And try to keep it low and slow. Okay. And look. Perfect. And see how easy that was? That's the way it should weed. That's the way it should weed. It should be that easy. There's a little bit in the center of the A here. So, of course, you got to take that out, and I'll stick it on my finger. And then the inside of the N. Okay. So, if you are using one of the auto blades and you are having wonderful results with it every time, please let me know what you're using for settings, because I would love to know. This is what this is what I've done, and I've learned to cut using this. So here is my scan and cut for my box. So what do you think? That was, when it wasn't hard to set that blade, was it? Once you, and you have to do your little, you might have to do a test cut because you're doing it. But but it worked really well. All right. Worked very well, and it wasn't stressful. I knew it was going to cut because I tested it, and it was going to cut. All right. So I got my colored ones here too, all these different colors. I just cut them a few times just to try it out. All right. All right. So now let's do a couple more before we put these on our box. So I want to do a name. Okay. So we're going to do a name, and I'm just going to use the letters in the machine. Oops, a second. I want to get this off my machine before it sticks permanently. Sometimes they stick permanently. All right. So we're going to go ahead. Yeah. So don't be frustrated. I practiced and practiced and practiced, and I've cut a lot of vinyl, and I've tried and tried and tried to have a consistent cut every time with different settings. And I've tried all kinds of settings, and nothing seems to work for me. What works for me is going back to my old blade. And you know what? I'm good with that. I had one. They're not expensive if you'd like to purchase one. But I use this auto blade for everything else. I never have any problems with cutting anything else. We were cutting chipboard, a few weeks ago. I don't have any trouble with this machine at all. I love it. But I have a little trouble with vinyls. And so this works, and it has to be the half cut feature that causes me the problem. So, all right, so let's go ahead and let's do a name. My name is going to be about 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches. So we're going to delete that pattern. We're done with that. And I want to make my name with some letters that are built into the machine. So I'm going to hit pattern. Okay. And let's see, let's just pick a fun font. What did I use before? I don't know. I think it was on the second page, maybe. Let's just pick a fun font. Doesn't matter which one. You can just pick any one you want. Oh, this one's kind of cool. Let's use this one. Okay. And I would like to put my name on the top of my box. So I'm going to put in Jan, and I'm just going to do it in capital letters. Oh, which heat press. I have a Stahl's heat press for my, this is not heat transfer vinyl though. This is adhesive. This is sticky vinyl. I use a heat press for my shirts, and I have a Stahl's cracked press. It's pink. It's very cute. I love it. And it heats up well, and it does a really great job. So that's what I have for heat press. A lot of people use those Cricut ones, and they look like they might work pretty well. So, but oh, you want to cut, yeah. So this one you want to cut. You want the blue blade that I'm using, Carol. Yep, I've had real good luck. So I figure, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because I've been using this blade for about 10 years now, and it works great. All right, so I got my name. I'm going to hit OK, and I want it to be, let's see, the design, I made it 3.5 inches long. So the size is in inches down here. This is like the point system. And I don't know exactly what that is, but you can, if you hit the plus sign, it goes up in aspect. And I want this to be about 3.5. So I'm just going to pull this down so that it's about 3.5 inches wide. And mine kind of did 3.48 or 3.5. So I'm just going to do, or 5.3, I think. So let's just do 3.48. That's close enough. And it's about a little over 1.5 inches tall. Okay. Yes. The blue blade. Yep. So they're on the website too, Carol, on shieldsewingcenter.com, but they're called the standard blade, and you need a blade holder. So you'll need it's called standard blade. And then it's this kind of teal colored blade, standard blade holder. It's not an auto blade. It's a standard blade and standard blade holder. Okay. I always keep them in stock because they cut vinyl really great. Okay. So I got it to where I wanted, about 3.5 inches wide. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see. I think my piece must be this piece that I need. So here's my vinyl that I need. And I'm going to go ahead and load my mat again. Give me a second. But yeah, my machine cuts great. I have had this machine for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years, and I had the same problems with vinyl with my other machine. I had a 320 or 225, and this is a 230D. And I've had the same problem with both machines, so I'm assuming it's the same problem. So anyway, I fixed it. It works great. I don't have any problems, and I don't need my 650. I have this one. So everything cuts beautifully. So let's go ahead and look at our name up here. And I'm going to grab this. I'm going to pull it up into the corner again. That's where I put that white vinyl. Sometimes it's hard to see. Okay. And I'm going to click OK. And you know, I'm just going to go for it this time. It's going to cut fine. I'm going to hit cut. I've still got my standard blade set to 2. It's going to take 1 minute on speed 3. I'm just going to hit start and we're just going to go for it. So once you get used to where your blade setting is, I don't test cut very often because I know I've been setting this blade for 10 years and I know exactly where to set it. This one is not as new. Sometimes the new blades have to be at 1.5 just to let you know. So you might want to test cut a couple of times before you go for it like I do. Okay, so let's take this off. I'm going to pull this out. I'm going to flip it over so that I don't disturb my vinyl, and I'm going to pull it away like this. Okay, so there is my cut. And then let's do one more, and then we'll weave both of them. Let's see. I want to put the word tools on the other side of my box. And I'm just going to pick a fun font for that as well. So let's go ahead and cut that one too, and we'll read them both. And Carol, you can call me too on Tuesday. I'll be back on Tuesday and I can mail it to you. All right, so we're going to put this up in that left corner again. And Cindy, actually, I'm not the dealer. My boss is the dealer, but you know, I'm the one that troubleshoots all the machine, the scan and cut. So, you know, I mean, it's one of those things that I have tried to come up with a solution other than this. And so is the other gal that works at our store. We both tried to come up with another solution, but we just go back to this blade and guess what? The solution, that is the solution to me. So it works great. So here is my piece of vinyl, and I want to make the word tools. Let's see, how big did I make that one? So let's see. We're just going to go pick a font. Again, let's hit the little house button, go back. We're just going to pick a font. We're going to hit pattern. We're going to hit the letters. Whoops, there goes my stick. Just a minute. And I'm going to go, let's see. I like that same font. It was on, I like this one. So let's just put the word tools with that one. I like that one. And we're just going to type in TOOLS. So we're going to put scan and cut on one side, tools on the other, and then my name on the top. All right, so we're going to hit OK. And then I want it to be about 4¼ inches long. Well, oh, guess what? It was about 4¼ inches long. So I don't have to change the size of this one. It came up the right size. That's cool. So we're going to hit set. And I'm going to hit OK. And we know where the vinyl is because I put it up in this top left corner. So I'm just going to pull this. Whoops, let's go back. We're going to pull this up in that top left corner. And then we're going to hit please select and cut. And then I'm going to go for it again. We're not going to test. So we're going to hit start. And off it goes. Because I cut so much vinyl with my 650. And I could cut anything. I could cut, like, we do a lot of, we used to do a lot of stuff with, and I made like gifts for people for like the events and stuff we did. And I would do this little Shield Sewing Center logo, and I would have like 1/4 inch letters that I was weeding, and it would cut every little letter perfectly. I could pull those out. And, but that's my job, is to, thank you, you know, Margaret, yes. But you know, that's my job, is to troubleshoot for you. So I have people come in that are struggling with vinyl, and this is usually how we take care of the solution. I wish I had another solution, and I tried, but it's still, okay, so I've flipped it over. Okay, so that's my job at the store. I'm the troubleshooter. So if you have problems, call me and I will help you. That's what my job is. Okay, I like helping people. All right, so we got both of these to weed. So I'm going to go back over here. Okay. And remember, Margaret, years ago, when we did our first couple of, we did a couple of early classes with this new model when it came out, and I had problems. Mine cut fine. My vinyl cut fine. I remember doing one. It was a little Christmas stocking that had a little Santa belly across it, and we cut that out of heat transfer vinyl and heated it to the stocking. It was cute. But mine cut fine every time, but nobody in the class is cut. Same problem, you know, same problem. So we're going to do the same thing with this one. Okay, so let's get this one over here. And here's our tools. Put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing. And whoops, okay, here's the top of it. I'm going to do the same thing. Let me pull it up here. Let me see if I can get this to come back just a little bit. It's always hard here on this table. I don't have a good place for my camera. So we're going to pull from the corner. Okay, open this up. And then remember, it's sticky, so don't drop it. And then I always try to keep the sticky side up. And I pull kind of diagonally, very slowly. And look how beautifully that weeds. It just comes right out. I've got to help the S just a little bit. There we go. There you go. Now we need to get the insides out of the O. Okay. Thank you, Marianne. I like to help people. And you know, I've been a teacher for a long time. So when you have problems cutting things, and I'm anxious to hear how you guys are cutting. If you're not having any problems, I'd be anxious to know why. Or what your settings are, because I can't get the same thing to happen on my machine. So, all right, so there's tools. So what do you think of that? That looks pretty good. And then here's my name. So let's go ahead and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to start here at the top. But see, this mat really helps because then I can kind of see where the lines are. You probably can't see it on the camera very well, but I can see. Oh, hi, Anna. All right, so I'm going to hang on and I'm going to kind of work from the corner. So I'm not trying to say there's anything bad about these SDX models. They are wonderful. I never have any problems with this machine, except when I'm doing vinyls. And I love to cut vinyl. And so I've struggled and struggled. And that's why we haven't done any vinyl classes for a while. And I just haven't been happy with my results until I just went back to my old blade. I mean, and if that's all it takes, then it's done. I'm done. Okay. So there is our pieces that we're going to put on our box. All right. So got to find my box. Here's the box that so I remember how I did it. I'll put this over here so I can look at it. And here's my box. Oh, the reason you have any problems is your machine's still in the box. That's funny, Cindy. If you get it out of the box, you probably you might have the same problem I did, but if you just buy a blade, you'll be all good. Can you still get the older blades? Absolutely, Barb. I had one because I kept one of mine, and yes, absolutely, you can get them. They are called standard blade. There's no word auto on it, just standard blade and standard blade holder. And they are, I'll show it to you again, turquoise. Okay, so this is the standard blade holder. You got to get both. And then when I unscrewed this is the blade. Okay, so here's the blade. See if I can get it out of there. Okay, there's the blade. Standard blade. Okay, I have the blade with my, if you have an older machine, you already have one, Cindy. You've already got it. Just use that blade, right? This one was from my 650. Okay, this blade is from my 650. I kept it. I actually always have a separate blade for fabric. So we always cut with the standard blade. And so this was my fabric blade. I just kept it. And because I had two of them, I had another blade that I always use for vinyl, but I sold it with the machine. And then I had to go back and buy one of the other ones though. The purple one, yes, the purple one. Let me show you the purple one again. This is the deep cut blade. So yes, I use this. I had to go back and buy another one because I sold my purple blade with my other machine. I thought, oh, I'll never need that again. Yes, I do. We're going to go back and we're going to revisit this, but I'm learning to stamp, and I'm going to be more confident because I'd like to show you how to cut stamps on the rubber stamps on your scan and cut, and we have to use this blade. So this purple blade works better for that. Okay. Yes, we're going to clean the plastic. So somebody asked if we're going to clean the plastic. So yes, we are. So let's see if I can get this sticker off the bottom here. All right, so we're going to clean it. And what I usually do is I take a little rubbing alcohol on a cotton ball. Get rid of a couple things here so I have room to work here. And I've got a paper towel because sometimes I get a little overzealous with the rubbing alcohol. But if you use a little rubbing alcohol, it takes some of the oils off of there's sometimes oils on the plastic. And I just cleaned it off with that. Okay. And it's a little bit wet, so you can let it dry. Sometimes I'll go over with a wet cotton ball and just kind of dry it off a little bit. But it takes some of those oils off the plastic. Okay. And I've got a paper towel here too, so we can move along a little faster. I usually kind of let it dry naturally, but sometimes I get a little overzealous. All right, so I usually do that first because then it works better. Okay, so when you use adhesive vinyls, you have to use a thing called a transfer sheet. And my favorite transfer sheets are the clear contact paper from the dollar store. So I usually just use these clear contact paper pieces, and I cut them. So they're about the same size as my design. And I'm just going to cut this down a little bit so I can get some of the paper off of it. So it's a little closer to the design. So I'm just going to cut this down. Then it's a little easier for me to center it. And this is going to be the eyeball method, guys. There's other methods to do this, but we'll talk about that. I've got another class I want to do, and we'll use the hinge method. Okay. So this is going to be the eyeball method. This works pretty well for these little things. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this off of the backing paper, hopefully, and I'm going to stand up so I can see better. It's hard to do this when I have a camera in between me and what I'm doing. All right, so we're going to take this off, okay? And this one is a little bit bendy, so try to keep this nice and flat so that it's not flat. And sometimes I even tape it down if it's like curly or something on me. This one's pretty good now. So I'm just going to take my clear contact paper and be sure you got it in the right spot. Just kind of go down. Don't get too, mess around with it because it's going to pull up your letters. So you kind of have to commit is what I'm saying. Now, the other thing you're going to need, we had our weeding tool, okay? And Brother has these too. Some of you may have this little set. Let me show you. Some of you may have this little set. I have this little set that came in this bag with my machine. And this has a weeding tool and a spatula. This is the weeding tool here. And then it has this scraper Okay, so you need this too. So that's the other thing you need. And I've got another, this is an older scraper that I use all the time. I've been using it for years. I love it. And this is my scraper, and it is I think I got this one from Specialty Graphics too. So this is going to help me adhere my letters to my transfer paper. So I'm just going to burnish it. This is what's called burnishing. So we're just going to burnish this. Yeah, I love that set. You can't get them anymore. I used to be able to get them, and they came with a lot of the machines for a while. So I got mine with my machine. Okay, so we're just going to burnish that. Okay, then hopefully we'll be able to take off the vinyl with the transfer sheet. However, I often have this problem, and I've tried all kinds of different transfer sheets, and I've often had this problem, so I just make it work. So mine does not always like to come. It likes to start. So what I need to do is just kind of help it along. I'm just going to take my little tool, and we're just going to help it along getting going here. Okay, so I'll just take my little tool and help it. Sometimes this is really sticky vinyl, permanent vinyl, and it does stick to the paper pretty good. So sometimes I just have to help it along. Okay, and there are some other actual transfer papers that might be a little bit better, and I've had this problem with them too, so I just help it along a little bit. Okay, so see, it's pretty good over here. There's a little piece here. Okay, come on, doesn't want to go. There we go. Oh yeah, Dollar Tree does have some of these pick tools and stuff. They do. They look almost like the Brother ones. You want them to be pretty pointy though. Those looked a little bit rounded on the end, so make sure it's good and pointy. But they do have them, yes. Okay. So here's my vinyl. Okay, and you notice we did not mirror this because this is cut from the top. When we do heat transfer vinyl, we will do heat transfer vinyl. That is cut from the back, so we will mirror those. But we're gonna do that in another class. Okay. So now we're gonna go ahead. See where I can get this in the camera for you, so you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna do the eyeball method. Okay. Try to get it as straight and as even as I can. I've already rinsed this off. That looks pretty good. Okay. And then you kind of have to commit. Drop it and don't try to move it, because let me tell you, it won't move. Okay, and I'm just going to give that a little bit of a burnish with my fingers, and it's a little bit crooked, I think, because I'm trying to do this over a camera. Okay, I'm going to burnish it again so that it will stay on my box. Okay, with my little tool, and then I'm going to pull the transfer sheet off, and look at there. This is like magic. This is the magic part. And there is, and then by the way, you can use this again. So I'm going to put it back on my piece of paper that I took it off of someplace. Here it is. I'm going to put it back on there, and I'm going to use that again later. Okay. So you can use it more than once. You can use it a few times, and then it gets kind of not sticky. All right. So there's our Scan and Cut logo. So what do you think? Then I'm going to turn this over, and let's put the word tools on the other side. So I'm going to do that. Same thing with this. I'm going to just cut this down a little bit so the paper's a little closer to my word. It helps me center it a little bit better. Okay, sometimes I use my rotary cutter when I do that. Probably shouldn't be. I'm cutting paper. All right. Then I'm going to grab, let's see, this is my tool. So I got a little piece of paper over here, or I could use the one I used before. But this one's kind of longer, so we'll use a shorter one. I cut some extra smaller ones. Isn't that cool? It's sort of like magic. I remember when I started doing adhesive vinyl, I just loved doing adhesive vinyl. And it was so cool. You know, you'd get it up there, and I've learned all these different wet methods and all this stuff. It's pretty cool. So, all right, so I'm just going to put this down on my tools again, kind of commit. I know it's a little scary, and I'm going to burnish it, but we'll probably have to help it a little bit. So I like this pointy tool because then when I start working on it here, I just kind of go like this, and it doesn't like to start. So I just give it a little help, and it goes, okay, just carefully, don't get rambunctious with it. Just do it slowly. Yeah, I use them until they don't stick most time. These are not terribly sticky. This is kind of older transfer vinyl. This is just like scraps. So I think it's kind of getting old and it's not very sticky anymore. Okay, so there's my tools. So let's see. I'm going to lay this down just for a second, upside down, and then let's condition this with a little alcohol so we know that it is clean. Okay, and I'm going to put this on the opposite side. But I've tried to, I've worked with this machine for years, and this machine's been out a while now, this auto blade machine, and I have worked with it, and this is my solution. All right, so we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to kind of do the eyeball method. Can't really see because there's a camera between me and it, but it's close enough, right? All right, so there's tools. We're going to take our little tool, little scraper, and burnish it again. And then we're going to pull the transfer paper off, and I can get a hold of it. This has always been everybody's favorite little project. This has always been a fun project to do. And there's tools. Okay. I love doing letters. All right. Let me grab my other piece of paper here. Oh, here it is. So I'll keep that one. I can use that one again. And then let's put my name. I'm going to put my name on the top up here. So we'll clean that off. So I'm just going to put it in the center section here. Okay. I know, isn't that cool? And the white looks really good on the colored vinyl box, plastic box. So, but if you have a clear one, just put colored, put colored vinyl on instead. You can use the colored vinyl instead. So it just depends on what works better. Okay. All right. So let's put my name on here. Let's see. I don't know. Let's just do. It doesn't matter which way it goes. Let's see here. Where'd it go? Here it is. I have a lot of junk on my table now, so I'm just going to cut this down a little bit so it's easier. When I do the hinge method, I want everything to be the exact same size. So we'll talk about that when we do that. I'm going to do a split letter in the software, and then we're going to put it on a tile. And I did those. They make really cool wedding gifts, so I thought we'd do that before like wedding season started. And I made them, for my folks and all that, and they're really fun to do. And then it'll be a software lesson too. All right, so I'm going to get my piece of vinyl here. I'm going to lay this back down here. Hopefully you can see. Trying to make sure you can see. Okay, put this down. Kind of have to commit to that. Just set it down. And then I'm going to burnish. Yeah, I thought but it was really fun. I did it quite a few years ago, and it's a really fun project to do. And, oh, here it is. I'm looking for this. Okay. The hinge method works actually really well, Jan. You just have to be very careful. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm going to help it along a little bit here. Okay, so just got to get it started. Once it gets started, it's fine. This one's being contrary. Right? And I always had everybody put their names on their boxes because everybody's boxes were the same size or the same color when they brought them to class. Then, we needed to make sure we knew whose box was whose. All right. And then I'm going to use this little center section here. We're going to put my name on it. So we're just going to kind of use the eyeball method, which works quite well. I think we need to go this way a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to burnish. You still have your box, Marianne? A lot of people, I taught this class a lot of times with all the different scan and cuts. There we go. There's my name. And let's see. Here's my paper. I love cutting vinyl, and now I'm back to doing it again because, and I cut this in two. So this one here was cut with this blade. Okay. And this is a very small font, and you can see that here's the little, and look at the little teeny details in it. And this cut beautifully, and I put this on this little water bottle. Okay. So, all right. So what do you think? There's my box. You might need to see a couple little bubbles. If there's a couple little bubbles, they usually come out. Actually, if you just leave them alone, don't mess with them. Just leave them alone. But here's my Scan and Cut logo on this side. There's my tools on this side, and there's my name on the top. And then I have my little boxes to put my stuff in for my Scan and Cut. And I am actually going to use these two that I just made because I need some more boxes here because I've got too much stuff on my table. So we're gonna do that. So what do you think? That work out okay? Now, like I said, if you see some little air bubbles, just kind of leave them alone. What I do is I kind of go over them with my finger and then just leave them alone because they actually do come out. I don't heat them. I don't do anything to get them out. If they're really big, I'll take a tiny, really, really sharp pin, like our magic pins, and I'll burst it. But lots of times they come out as this sits and the air gets to it, they come out. So just leave them alone. Don't try to get them out because sometimes it makes it worse. Okay. All right. So we have to give away our water bottle that we did on the Scan and Cut. Give me a second. I'm having a little trouble with my computer here. So I need to get to my other camera. So does anybody have any questions about the vinyl? Does everybody feel pretty confident with that manual? If you don't have one, they're on the website. Oh, about the different Scan and Cut models. This is all of the SDX models have the auto blades on them. So there's a whole bunch of different ones. And yes, I'll ask to say the favorite vinyl too. And then there were the CM models, were the old original ones. So the CM 550, 650W, those were the ones that only had these blades that you set yourself. Okay. The older models. And then these are the SDX. So they've had SDX models for quite some time now. And like I said, I just use this blade. Works great. Okay. Yes, you can wash it by hand, but don't put this in the dishwasher because the vinyl will come off. But you can use it and you can wash it by hand. Don't scrub it over the vinyl, but it will stay on and you can wash it. Yes. Okay. I just love doing vinyl. But I just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I've been using this blade for like 10 years. I just went back to it and I'm happy as can be, and everything turns out perfect every time. So, and we will do some heat transfer vinyl too, because I want to show you how to do some heat stuff, and I may just make myself some new shirts because I need some new shirts to wear to work. So I may show you our Shield Sewing Center logo or something like that. But this is, again, the standard blade with the standard blade holder. The holder is this turquoise thing. Okay, so it is not the auto. No auto word in it. It's just standard blade holder is what you need. Okay. Where did you get the thread and the needle and thread that is on the water? Oh, I made it. I just made it. This is my logo. I just made it. I just drew it myself. So yeah, it was fun. And somebody asked about my favorite vinyls again. So my favorite vinyls, this is my favorite vinyl. This is a permanent vinyl. This is Oracle 651. Okay. And the other brand that I use is FDC brand. And they have a permanent and a non-permanent. And then the Oracle, I think, is 631 we decided. Okay. That is the non-permanent. So specialty-graphics.com is where I get a lot of my vinyl. And they do have Oracle now. I just got an email not too terribly long ago. They started carrying Oracle. So they have the FDC and the Oracle, both. So they have both of them. So I use them interchangeably. The only thing I do like better is I like Oracle White because it has that blue backing. when you're weeding, you can see it. It's easier to see. So instead of the white backing. So FDC had white backing. It was just harder to see what I was doing. So this works better for me. Okay, so this is Oracle. All right. And we talked about the blade again. So if you need these, this works great. The difference between the permanent and the non-permanent, technically they say you can put it on a wall and take it off. It can still rip your wallpapers or your walls. The permanent is really, really super sticky, and it's made to be like outdoors. So if you read the descriptions on the different kinds of vinyl, you'll see what they're normally used for. And so like you don't want to use, like I do use these on cups, and this is the permanent, but you don't want to put this in the dishwasher with this vinyl on it. Okay, it's still on there, and it stays on very well, but just hand wash it. Okay. So anyway, so this is what we're going to give away. So is everybody ready to see who wins the prize? And if you're from away from here, make sure you personal message me your address, your shipping address, and I'll mail it to you. Okay. And if you're local, hopefully it's okay if you come and pick it up at the store. All right. So let me grab my tablet over here. We have to do that. So hopefully I didn't confuse everybody about the blades. So everybody knows what blade we need for our, there is a wall. Yes, there is a wall vinyl. And depending on the brand, there's different models. So yeah, if you just read the descriptions, you'll see if you really need a wall vinyl. So yeah, some of the walls vinyls, you don't want to be, you know, you don't want to use the wrong vinyl because it'll never come off, you know. So, okay. So I'm just going to mix up the letters here, or mix up the names. And let's see here what comes up. And I'm just going to put my finger down. I'm not looking. I'm just going to put my finger down. And my finger went down on Jan Stegen. Jan Stegen. So you get the cup, Jan. And guess what? Jan's name is Jan, so it says so along with Jan. So, all right. So Jan Stegen is the winner of the water bottle made with the scan and cut. So, and I know she has a scan and cut. So, all right. So next week, we're going to be doing software, and we're going to be doing the little, pennant banner. And I don't know if you can see it. I've got it hanging on the wall. Let me see. My table's a mess. So if you let me switch my camera quick, I'll let you see it. I've got it hanging up on the wall now, so you can see it better. I took a good picture of it and put it up on the group. But I think if I put this up, you might be able to see it up here on the wall. Maybe not, because I got such a light. It's right above the light, and I don't know if you can see it. You can kind of see the S. Sorry. My light is really bright over there, and you probably can't see it. But I've got it hanging up, and I took a picture and put it on the group. So if you haven't seen it, go ahead and take a look on the group. That's what we're going to do tomorrow, or next week. So that'll be software in Perfect Embroidery Pro. And then I also put in the software Dropbox. So again, featured post on Sew Along with Jan. Okay, first post, and there's a one for the embroidery and one for the software, and it's called the Spring Pennant Banner. So I put the PES files in there. If you don't have the software, you can still sew it out if you want to. It's really cute. It turned out really cute. So, all right. So next week we'll be working on software, and then the following week we'll go back to cuties again. We'll do the May cutie because it'll be April. Can you believe it? I did taxes today, so I'm almost done with my taxes. So I'm so glad. I'm always glad when I get the taxes done. So, all righty, everybody. So we'll be seeing you next week. And if you have any questions again about the blades or anything, let me know. And then Jan, if you probably can come down and get your prize because she's from not just north of town. So, all right. So thanks, everybody. Have a good day, and we'll be seeing you next week.